Love is not just an emotion, but a long journey full of challenges, learning, and growth. But do we truly understand love, or are we just vaguely drifting with the ups and downs of emotions? Love, which is supposed to be a beautiful journey, does not always last forever. We all hope for lasting relationships, but sometimes, fading is inevitable. Have you ever felt there was an invisible distance between you and your partner, even though you were still together? Strange actions, silences, or inexplicable changes may signal that the feelings are no longer the same as before. Let's explore the clear signals that show a woman is no longer in love, and how to recognize them before it's too late. Welcome to the Stoic Love Wisdom channel. This is where we explore real stories, profound lessons, and valuable experiences about love. Today, in this video, I will share with you 7 signals a woman sends you when she is no longer in love. If you've ever wondered about the questions in love, don't skip this video. For the best experience, find a quiet spot, put on your headphones, and fully immerse yourself in what I'm about to share. Relax, and let everything flow. Let's find out the secrets that can help you live more fully in each relationship. Let's begin together. Signal number 1. Communication becomes sparse and superficial. When love is no longer essential. In any romantic relationship, communication is one of the core elements that helps maintain connection, understanding, and emotional nurturing. When two people are in love, they tend to talk constantly, even about the smallest things. Morning texts, short calls during lunch breaks, or recounting a long day are all signs of a vibrant relationship. But when love begins to fade, the first signal often appears quietly: communication becomes sparse and superficial. It's not that the other person suddenly stops talking altogether, but the way they communicate changes. They may have eagerly replied to your messages within seconds, asking you questions in return out of concern. Now, you wait for hours to receive a short, emotionless response, with no connection. Communication is the bridge between two souls. When someone starts losing interest in maintaining that bridge, it means they no longer want to build or nurture the relationship. Talking becomes an obligation rather than a desire. Texting becomes a mere reply, no longer a proactive effort to reach out like before. When you share a story, the other person simply responds with, really, or okay, rather than expressing feelings, asking questions, or sharing thoughts. The coldness doesn't come from the words but from the lack of willingness to engage in your inner world. What's sad is that many people often comfort themselves by saying, they're probably busy, maybe they're not in a good mood today, or they might need some alone time. These reasons might be true, but if this pattern continues day after day, it's no longer an exception, it has become a habit. And when someone gets used to not talking to you like they used to, it's very likely that, deep inside, their feelings are slowly fading away. It's not just the number of texts or response time, but the quality of the exchange. Superficial communication is when you feel like you're talking to yourself in a conversation. You try to maintain the flow, you try to create topics, but every effort seems like it's being thrown into an empty space. The other person doesn't respond enough to make you feel connected, but they don't remain completely silent either, leaving you in a state of uncertainty. Everything is left hanging, making you confused, wondering, what did I do wrong? In many cases, women don't want to say that they've stopped loving because they fear hurting the other person or lack the courage to end things. But their actions speak louder than words. The dwindling communication isn't random, it's the result of emotional withdrawal. They no longer need you in their world. They no longer feel that sharing something with you is a natural thing. And when silence becomes the new norm between two people, the relationship is teetering on the fragile edge of ending. So, what should you do when you notice this signal? First, be honest with your own feelings. Don't rush to find reasons to excuse the unusual changes. Don't try to force the other person to talk if they no longer want to. What you need is a clear and honest conversation. Ask them, not with blame, but with genuine concern, whether something is happening, and if they still want to continue this relationship. In the end, you deserve to be loved with a full heart, not through cold conversations. And if the other person no longer wants to talk, no longer wants to understand you, then perhaps it's time for you to reconsider staying in a relationship where only you are trying. Sometimes, silence is the clearest answer. And when communication is no longer something both of you want, that's when you need to evaluate your journey, to move on, even though it may be painful. If you find this video helpful, don't hesitate to hit like and share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your feelings about today's topic. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to click the subscribe button so you won't miss the interesting videos coming soon. Signal number 2. When she no longer cares about you. Love is not only expressed through words but also through the small gestures of care in everyday life. When a woman is in love, she will always pay attention to your emotions, health, habits, and even the tiniest details of your life. She may ask if you've eaten, remind you to dress warmly when it's cold, or simply listen to you tell a not-so-interesting story. That care is not an obligation but a way for her to express her love. It's her joy to be part of your world. But when she no longer loves you, one of the clearest signs is indifference. She no longer cares whether you've eaten, if you're tired or happy, how your work is going, or what worries you. She doesn't ask, doesn't wait for answers, and sometimes, even if you share something, she doesn't react in any meaningful way. It's not because she's busy, nor because she's temporarily tired. It's because you no longer hold an important place in her heart. Care is a woman's instinct when she's in love. When love is still there, no matter how busy she is, she will find ways to show she cares. A short message, a gentle question, or a worried look when you seem off, all these are her ways of saying you are still in her heart. But when love fades, even the simplest gestures disappear. You'll start to notice that every story you share feels like you're talking to yourself. She doesn't remember what you've said, doesn't respond, or simply says, to move on. When you're sick, she no longer worries or asks how you're doing. When you have a bad day, she doesn't comfort you. When you're happy, she doesn't share the joy with you. It feels like you're living parallel lives with someone who used to be everything to you but has now become a stranger. Indifference in love doesn't come suddenly. It spreads quietly, starting with very small things. Today, she forgets to ask what you ate. Tomorrow, she no longer listens to you. Then, little by little, she doesn't show up in the moments when you need someone by your side. And one day, you realize that the person who used to care most about you is now the one who's most indifferent. What's scary is not the silence, but when that silence comes from someone who once cared deeply about you. Someone who, in the past, would immediately ask how you were if you seemed sad. Now, even if you're exhausted, broken, or disappear for a while, they don't seem to care. When a woman no longer cares about you, it means she has withdrawn her heart from the relationship. She no longer finds joy in being with you, nor does she feel responsible for your emotions. That's when separation begins, even if no one has officially said the words to end it. So, what should you do when you realize this? First, accept the truth. Don't deceive yourself by thinking she's just going through a tough time or maybe she needs some space. Love may go through rough patches, but if it still exists, care will always be present, even if it's at the minimal level. Next, have an honest conversation. Ask gently but clearly, I feel like you're not paying as much attention to me as before. Is something happening? The answer may break your heart, but it's the first step in healing yourself. And if, after all, you're the only one trying to keep the connection alive, then maybe you need to learn how to let go. A relationship cannot survive if only one person cares. You deserve to receive genuine love, not to cling to faded care. Finally, remember this: care cannot be faked. When it disappears, love is no longer what it used to be. Don't try to find reasons to keep someone who no longer wants to stay. Hold on to your self-respect, and allow yourself to find the happiness you truly deserve. If you're still watching this video, don't hesitate to comment with the word "continue" to let me know. Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinion. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel to motivate me to create more interesting and meaningful videos. Let's continue together. Signal number 3. Avoiding closeness and intimacy. When physical distance reflects emotional distance. Love is not just about sweet words or endless conversations. It is also about presence, hugs, hand-holding, exchanged glances, and physical closeness. When two people are in love, physical touch is not just an action, it is a way for two hearts to connect, to express the need to bond and belong. But when a woman starts avoiding closeness and intimacy, it could be a sign that her feelings for you are slowly fading. The moment you want to hug her after a long day, but she pulls away. You want to hold hands in a crowded street, but her hand gently pulls back. You want to lean on each other while watching a movie, but she makes excuses like, "It's too hot, I'm tired," or "I'm not comfortable." These reasons may seem reasonable if they happen occasionally, but if they become repetitive, if you find yourself being rejected not just by actions but by emotions, then you should stop and look deeper into the issue. Physical intimacy in a relationship is an important factor in maintaining closeness and love. It is not only a physical need but also an expression of emotional connection. When a woman is in love, she will not avoid moments when you want to hug, kiss, or simply sit close. On the contrary, she will seek ways to come closer, to feel safe and gentle in your presence. But when the love has cooled, her body gradually becomes distant. Hugs become reluctant, kisses feel forced, and sometimes, you get the feeling that you are touching someone who no longer has affection for you. It's a silent pain but very real when you realize that the distance between you is not just physical, but emotional as well. Avoiding intimacy doesn't always come from anger or physical fatigue. Sometimes, it is a natural reflex of someone who no longer feels connected, no longer feels moved. They may feel pressured, uncomfortable, or even guilty when they have to show intimacy with someone they no longer love. And rather than directly addressing the truth, they choose to avoid, hoping you will understand, or letting time fade everything away. Sadly, many people try to fill this gap with force. They think that if they are close more often, more intimate, things will return to how they were. But love cannot be saved through coercion. A hug only has meaning if it comes from a desire to be close. A kiss is truly sweet when both hearts beat in unison. If one person feels reluctant, then it is no longer intimacy, it's just an empty form. So, what should you do when you see the woman next to you gradually avoiding intimacy? First, don't rush to blame her or think she's at fault. In many cases, she is probably feeling confused, guilty, and hurt too. Look at the change with a clear perspective. Don't just observe the actions, pay attention to the attitude and emotions behind them. Does she still look at you with affection? Does she still smile when she's with you? Does she still quietly lean on your shoulder when she's tired? If these things are gone too, then maybe the distance is not just physical, it's because her heart is no longer in sync with yours. Second, have an honest conversation. Ask her how she feels, what might be causing her to not want to be close to you like before. Perhaps she's going through psychological pressure, or simply, her feelings have changed. Whatever the answer is, confronting and listening is much better than pretending nothing is happening. And finally, if after everything, you realize that the person next to you no longer has feelings for you, be brave enough to let go. You can't hold on to a heart that wants to leave. You should not try to be intimate with someone who no longer wants to feel you. Because doing so will only make both of you more exhausted, and the love will become distorted. Ultimately, true love is when two people want to be close to each other, not just physically, but emotionally. When your woman begins rejecting intimacy, it's not just an action, it's a signal that she is withdrawing from the relationship. Don't try to deny it. Don't cling. Face it, understand it, and if necessary, learn how to walk away with dignity. Because sometimes, the bravest thing in love is not holding on, but knowing when to let go. Signal number 4. Frequently irritable or ignoring you. When love becomes a burden. Loving someone means wanting to be close to them, to listen, to share, and to be understanding even of each other's imperfections. When love is still intact, people are usually more lenient with small mistakes, more understanding, and more forgiving. But when love begins to fade, things that were once minor issues suddenly become reasons for irritation and discomfort. The woman you once loved, who was gentle, patient, and caring, now frequently snaps or quietly ignores you. This is not just a change in character, it could be a signal that her feelings for you are gradually breaking down. No one is immune to fatigue, stress, or unpleasant events. But when, in a relationship, the other person constantly reacts negatively to you without clear reasons, it shows that they no longer have the patience to listen and understand. The careless words, small actions you make suddenly become excuses for them to be upset. Times when your messages are read but not replied, when your calls go unanswered, or when you get short responses like, whatever, or, I don't mind, all carry a cold message. They no longer want to dedicate time and energy to you like before. A woman's irritability sometimes doesn't come from what you say or do, but from the simple fact that you are still there, and presence she no longer finds necessary. And instead of directly saying, I don't love you anymore, many choose to hurt through silence or indifference. They no longer want to explain, nor do they wish to console or maintain the relationship. All your efforts become invisible, all your care becomes a nuisance. This change doesn't happen overnight. It is the result of a series of negative emotions that the woman has accumulated inside. Perhaps it is disappointment, hurt, or a feeling of no longer being appreciated. But sometimes, it's simply that the love is gone, no specific reason, no dramatic event, but just one day, she realizes that she no longer feels the same way about you. When a woman is still in love, no matter how angry she is, she still cares about how you feel. She may get upset, she may snap, but then she will take the initiative to reconcile, apologize if she said something hurtful, and find a way to communicate so both of you can understand each other better. But when love fades, silence replaces conversation. Indifference replaces hugs. And irritation becomes a reflex every time you try to get close. The most painful part is not when she raises her voice at you, but when she no longer bothers to say anything. The feeling of being ignored is like standing before a closed door. No matter how many times you knock, no one inside wants to open it. You feel small, lost, and slowly lose yourself in helplessness. If you are in a relationship where every time you speak, it makes the other person uncomfortable, if your care is seen as a nuisance, if you try to reconcile but only receive silence, then it's time to ask yourself, am I still loved? You don't deserve to have anger thrown at you every day. You don't deserve to walk on broken eggshells, always wary of making your loved one angry. You deserve respect, conversation, and to be listened to. A real relationship won't make you afraid every time you want to express something. Try facing it. Ask the person, do you still feel happy in this relationship? The answer may hurt you, but it might also free both of you from a love that has gone off course. Some relationships don't need more effort, they need to be let go. Finally, if she is frequently irritable or ignores you, it's not because you're not good enough, but because she no longer loves you enough to continue. Don't hold on to someone who no longer wants to keep you around. Don't try to reclaim a feeling that has already gone. Instead, find yourself again, heal your wounds, and open your heart to a more deserving relationship. Because in the end, love is not a battle of endurance, it is a journey of companionship, where both people feel loved and respected. Signal number 5. Not wanting to plan the future with you. When the other person no longer sees you in the shared picture. True love is not just about holding hands in the present, but also about gazing toward the future together. When a woman is still in love, she will want to know your plans, dream together about a home, distant travels, future children, and the difficulties you need to overcome. She will not hesitate to say, "we," and will not shy away from talking about what's to come. In her heart, you are not a temporary stop, but the person she wants to stay with for the long term. However, once the love in a woman's heart begins to fade, the most noticeable feeling you will have is her absence in any future plans. She is no longer excited when you talk about buying a house, she does not smile when you mention an upcoming trip for the two of you, and she has no feedback when you share your plans about work, study, or life in the future. Everything you say only receives a casual nod, or worse, silence. Not wanting to plan the future is not necessarily a direct rejection. Sometimes, it's a subtle avoidance. You ask, "If I have to transfer for work later, would you be willing to follow me?" She responds, "We'll figure that out later." You say, "Let's save up for a trip next year." She answers, "You go ahead and plan." These seemingly harmless comments, if repeated, are a sign that she no longer sees you as a part of her life. Perhaps you once dreamed of a wedding, of weekend afternoons cooking together, or of a long journey side by side. But now, all conversations about the future become topics she wants to avoid. She no longer asks, "Where will we live in the future?" or "Which school will our children attend?" Instead, there is indifference, even irritation whenever you bring up anything beyond the present. A woman who is in love has an instinct for attachment. She not only wants to be with you today, but also wants to know what tomorrow looks like, wants to plan together, and take each step with you. Even if uncertain, even if still vague, she wants to be a part of that plan. But when she no longer feels the same way, you will see everything become dull. There will be no more "we will" statements, no more hopeful distant gazes. The future suddenly becomes just your story, no longer a "we." The truth is, when someone no longer loves, they no longer want to build anything with you. It's not because they have no dreams, but because you are no longer in those dreams. They don't want to create a bond, don't want to paint a picture that will make both of you responsible. Because they know, somewhere deep inside, they are ready to walk away from this relationship, they just haven't been decisive enough to say it out loud. What's scary is not when someone says, "I don't want a future with you," but when they stay silent, when they let you paint everything, and then slowly withdraw as if they never promised anything. That feeling makes you confused, not knowing where you are heading, and if anyone is still walking with you or if you are silently alone on the path you chose. So, what should you do when you realize the woman beside you no longer wants to build a future together? First, don't pretend everything is fine. The fact that she always avoids talking about the future is not a small matter. Listen, and observe with a clear mind. Love is not just measured by hugs or kisses, but also by whether the other person is willing to walk the long road with you. Next, be straightforward. You can ask gently, without blaming, "I notice that every time I talk about the future, you fall silent. Is there something that makes you uncertain?" Sometimes, a simple question can reveal the real feelings the other person is hiding. And no matter how painful the answer may be, it's still better than prolonged silence. Finally, know when to step back if necessary. You can't force anyone to paint a picture with you if they don't want to. The more you push, the more they will pull away. Save your expectations and love for someone who is truly willing to walk alongside you. Because love is not about you planning alone and waiting for the other person to step in, it's about the two of you together painting a path, whether long or short, easy or difficult, still wanting to walk it together to the very end. Signal number 6. No more jealousy or worrying. When the heart has withdrawn from the game. Jealousy, when moderate, is a very real part of love. It's not about control, nor is it about obsessive suspicion. It's a manifestation of care, a natural reaction when you feel that the person you love is sharing intimacy with someone else. A slight frown when you laugh too much with another woman, a little pout when you talk too long with a beautiful lady. Sometimes, this is evidence of, "I love you, and I'm afraid of losing you." However, when the woman by your side no longer reacts to such things, when she watches you be intimate with others and remains indifferent, without the slightest discomfort, no jealousy, or pouting, it's very likely that she no longer loves you. In the past, every message from a strange woman would make her uneasy. Every time you went out late, she couldn't help but wonder, "Who are you with? Is there someone else who makes you happier than me?" She was sensitive to every small change in the way you behaved, every kind gesture you showed to someone else. It wasn't because she lacked confidence, but because in her heart, you were important, and she was afraid of not being the only one. But now, you feel the chilling silence. You can chat casually with a female colleague, text late at night with an old friend, or even intentionally test her reactions by being affectionate with someone else, but everything only gets a neutral look or an indifferent reply. It's up to you. It's no longer blind trust. It's a sign of letting go. When a woman no longer cares, her emotions will gently withdraw like a breeze. She doesn't get jealous, not because you've made her trust you completely, but because her heart is no longer in the relationship. She has stopped hoping, stopped waiting, stopped worrying about where you are, who you're with, or what you're thinking. In her mind, the question, "Do you love me?" no longer matters, because she herself is not sure whether she still loves you. The scariest feeling is not when the other person pouts, interrogates, or gets jealous, but when they no longer react at all. Because when people are still in love, they care. But when their emotions have cooled, even your intimacy with someone else cannot stir their heart anymore. Imagine this: if you saw the person you love being intimate with someone else, could you sit still and feel nothing? No jealousy, no hurt? If your answer is, "I couldn't," then you will understand how many changes the woman has gone through before becoming as indifferent as she is now. And the sad part is, sometimes you might feel relieved when she doesn't get jealous. You think, "She trusts me more now." But you don't realize that what has faded away is not suspicion, but love itself. So, what should you do when you realize this? First, don't deceive yourself into thinking everything is fine. A woman who once loved you deeply but no longer cares about who is around you, that's a clear warning bell. You need to be awake enough to see the truth: she has withdrawn from the game, she just hasn't said it out loud. Have an honest conversation with her. Don't ask, "Why don't you get jealous when I'm close to someone else?" Ask, "Do you still feel like we're truly a couple?" Reframe the question about your place in her heart, not to torment, but to understand if you should continue or let go. Finally, learn to accept. Love can't be forced, and it certainly can't be sustained if only one person is holding on. Jealousy once tired you, but indifference is what kills you from the inside. Don't try to hold on to someone who no longer has feelings, because it will only make you a lost person in your own relationship. Jealousy is not a bad thing. Jealousy is proof that the heart is still beating for someone. When a woman no longer gets jealous, it's also when you should ask yourself, has this love reached its end? Signal number 7. She becomes mysterious and keeps her distance. When her heart no longer belongs to you. Love doesn't need to be loud or full of promises. Sometimes, a glance, a simple question, or a tight hug is enough to make us feel close to someone. But the opposite is also true: when the distance between two people grows, not just physically but emotionally, it's time to ask yourself, are we still together? One of the clearest signs that a woman no longer loves you is when she becomes more mysterious and secretive than usual, and subtly builds invisible walls between the two of you. In the past, she could share everything with you, from small details about her day, work, friends, to personal emotions, both happy and sad. But now, you start to notice more silences. She no longer actively shares her stories, no longer comes to you to vent like before. Whenever you ask, her answers are short, evasive, or she changes the subject. You begin to notice unclear behaviors in her. Her schedule changes, her phone becomes more private, calls are taken in secluded corners, and messages are quickly scrolled through. Every time you show concern and ask, the typical response is irritation or a defensive tone. I don't want to talk, that's my private matter, you don't need to know everything. When you love someone, you want to share, to let them know what you're doing, where you are, and what you're thinking. But when you no longer have feelings, the first instinct is to keep a distance, not because something is wrong, but because that person no longer feels you hold a significant place in their private world. What hurts is not the change, but the feeling of being excluded from the life of someone who once saw you as their everything. Before, you were the one she turned to when tired, the first person she called when something exciting happened, the only one she wanted to share everything with. But now, conversations have become shorter. You are no longer the first choice, no longer the priority. She may laugh and chat with friends, excited about her personal plans, but when she's with you, it's strangely silent. The distance isn't due to a lack of time, but because one person no longer wants to spend time with the other. The greatest distance isn't when two people are miles apart, but when standing next to each other, you still feel alone. That's the feeling of loving someone who no longer directs their heart towards you. And no matter how hard you try, it feels like you're touching a cold wall. What's important to remember is that people only keep a distance from things they no longer want to keep close. When she starts having things she wants to keep to herself, it's no longer healthy privacy, but a sign that you are slowly being pushed out of the safe space in her heart. At this point, you might feel confused. You worry, you doubt, you try to control, but the more you do that, the more she retreats. Because love can't be kept by questioning or imposing. It only exists when both people want to open their hearts, look towards each other, and hold hands to walk through everything together. If you're in a relationship where the woman has become distant, hard to understand, and unusually quiet, try listening to your own feelings. Don't rush to accuse or be jealous. Have an honest conversation with her and ask, do you feel uncomfortable in this relationship? Or, I feel the distance between us has grown, do you feel the same? The answer might be silence, a slight nod, or even a quiet tear. But whatever it is, at least you've had the courage to face the truth. Sometimes, love ends not because of a major incident, but simply because one person has chosen to step back, quietly and subtly. She doesn't say goodbye, doesn't get angry, doesn't hurt you with words, but makes you feel like you no longer exist in her world. It's the quietest departure, but also the most painful. And if this is happening to you, know that you deserve to be loved fully. Not to be left out of the life of the one you love, not to have to guess every thought, and not to ask every day, does she still love me? Have the courage to let go if the other person no longer wants to hold on to you. Because love, after all, is two people walking toward each other, not one person constantly chasing after a retreating figure. Conclusion. Surely through the 7 signals above, you now have a clearer view of the signs when a woman no longer loves. Love, no matter how beautiful and romantic, sometimes faces challenges that not everyone can overcome. Once feelings fade, we can't force it, nor can we hold on with empty promises or endless efforts. Changes in behavior, invisible distances, or a lack of care are warning signs that the relationship is slowly coming to an end. What's important is to recognize these signs in time, so you don't fall into a state of confusion or deceive yourself. Because when someone no longer loves, continuing to try to hold on only causes both to suffer in the long run. The feeling of being abandoned or forgotten is something no one wants, but sometimes, it's the best way for both to find peace in their hearts and move forward on their own path. With understanding and acceptance, you'll be able to end the relationship in a gentle and mature way. Remember that love can't be forced. When one door closes, another will open, and you'll have the opportunity to find a love that's truly meant for you. Believe in yourself, and let the good things come naturally, at the right time. Thank you for watching the video until the end. I hope these insights on love today will give you new perspectives and help you gain valuable lessons. If you found the video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your loved ones. I truly appreciate your support, and I hope each video helps you move closer to a happy and lasting love. See you in the next videos. Wishing you a wonderful day full of inspiration.